Good evening. I think I put this off. It is good that it got warm again before I leave. I'm happy for this week that we had together. It was really a good week. And I'm looking forward to this last presentation, when we will just try to go through all the topics to just briefly address what we learned and be able to know what to do. So we started to see that we have stress because we have a conflict with time. We have fear and anxiety because we have a conflict with the space. And we started to see that depression and conflicts come because we fight with other people. And we all saw that these are not nice things that humans do to themselves, is it? And the question is, why do they do that? Why do we fight each other? Why could we not just be in peace with one another all the time? Why is irrationality stronger than reason? Why do we have no solution for stress, anxiety, depression, and chronic disease? Because we don't know ourselves. That was our beginning. I showed that in overcoming all problems that we have, we face two things. One, unknowledge. We don't know of ourselves. I hope we improved that a little bit in this week. We don't know our structure. I hope on that we also learned where trust is and where the actions are. I hope we learned some things about our functions and of the basic law of nature that governs everything that we do. And now we also learned that we are incapable to change the things. That is, we're incapable to control ourselves. All problems humans face come out with lack of self-control. Every problem we face is the result that we do not control ourselves anymore. We could not control our thoughts and our actions, and both we need to be able to control. We started out that we need a measurement for every information that we have. I hope you got that what is this in English? Ruler, yes. You know how wide and bright this is. We need this. This is the most important instrument. But you know, this is just a picture, image for the fundamental law of all things that we need to know. This fundamental law will help us to overcome, to see every problem. Then the structure we learned about, our needs, and we could put our thoughts on an objective foundation that cannot be changed. So let's look a little bit to the structure. How many parts man is composed on? 2. He has a body and a spirit, and both together give the soul. And he is alive because as long as the spirit and the cortex are together, we are alive. Now we learned that the man needs two needs. He needs electricity for his body, that's in the brain, and he needs chemistry so that he can walk and do his things. And now we need to know who's responsible for what. And the human spirit is responsible for all the processes that govern our body. We think that our body works by himself, but how do we know that our body cannot work by himself? Because we have the law. There is nothing physical that can work by itself. It must have an input. And where is the input in our body? Will chemistry keep us going? No. It's because chemistry is also physical. So that what governs our processes is our spirit. So if you have a problem with your thyroid, where is the problem? In your body or in your spirit? The cause is in the spirit, in your body is just showing up. Because your body cannot make himself a thyroid dysfunction. I had a young girl, she was 16 or 17 when she got a tumor in the pituitary gland that produced oxytocin. Not oxytocin. Yes. What is the... No, yeah. Can't find it later. So, however, the tumor produced an hormone, and this hormone rose in her body, and it stopped her menstruation, and she came out of menstruation for 7 months, and then they took the blood samples and saw that she had a high hormone level, and then they did an MRI and found the tumor in the right side of the pituitary gland that made this oxytocin. It is oxytocin, huh? No, it's oxytocin. And so it produces that, and now, of course, the doctors give you some medication to level that, yes, to lower the production of that. But it worked for a while, and then who is stronger, the tumor or the medication? It's always nature is stronger than the medication. So she needs to take now 2 pills, then 3 pills to somehow balance the hormones. And then she comes to my practice, or I spoke to her over Skype, and then she understood what she had to do, but it didn't work. So a year later she came into my practice and says, I have to talk to you to see how we can fix the problem. And so I knew that this tumor could not come on the right side of her pituitary gland except through a spiritual thought, through a spiritual conflict. And she had one for more than 5 years. She has a sister, and that sister has a husband, and that husband had with her sister 2 children, but she found out that the husband was cheating on her sister. So how was she treating her brother-in-law? How was she thinking about him? Nicely? No, she said, I have to defend my sister. Did she put force into that? Yes, she did. And so when she came into my practice, she came together with her husband, and I explained to her that she needs to stop fighting for her sister against her brother-in-law. And she was 23 when she was in my practice, and she did it. She stopped it. We know last night we saw, and we will see a little bit about the cross and how we have to stop it. But what happened with the tumor just a few weeks later? He disappeared. Her hormones level just got right. She did not take any medication. Her husband called me after 1 or 2 years and said, she's off everything, the tumor disappeared. Because if we would just know the power of our mind, we would just be very well off. Because then we would know where to work. Yes, we can do some medication to balance our hormonal system, but we won't get far away as long as the conflict, as that input in our brain, exactly on the right side of the brain, where she has that relationship with her sister and her mother, her brother-in-law, that does it. So let us understand every process in our body, everything that your gene is turned on and off comes through your spirit. Yes, there might be used a certain chemical to turn it off and on, but he who uses the chemical is the spirit. So he guides the nervous system, or through the nervous system, through electricity, he guides every situation that is in the body all the hormonal system, all the immune system, all digestive system, all blood sugar. You see, people do a lot for their immune system, do you? They take this pill and that pill. You know, if you just would change your thoughts, you could forget your pills. Because love is the best suitor for your immune system. It won't get you nothing if you just would love. If you just, we will speak about love tonight as the result, as the solution for everyone. If we could exercise love, there would be no this hormonal thing at all in our body. Because love is made, or we were made for love. We were made to exercise love. And love is the best immune system treater. All others are just trying to fix mechanics, to fix chemistry. But if your mind is not changed, your immune system will not work well. Can we leave the question at the end? Or yes, vitamin B12, that's always a question for those who are vegan. Vitamin B12, if I understand it well, you don't need to supply it because it is regenerated in your body. It doesn't leave. Yes? But when it leaves, when you have a deficiency, it's not the intake. It is the consummation. You consume too much. Because of what? Because of your mind. Most people who have a vitamin B12 deficiency, it is not because of food. They are not vegetarians. They are I could say blood eaters, meat eaters. And so they have enough intake of vitamin B12, but they still have a deficiency. Because it's not about the thing itself, it's about the metabolism, how it is worked. And that metabolism is worked by your heart, by your subconscious thoughts. And if there would be the motivation of love, it's not me that I made this body or this human being. This is a creation of God. And if God is love, He made that everything should work by love. That's why Jesus, when He was tempted, He said, man does not live from bread alone. He actually wanted to say, he lives by the word of God. Bread only is a cofactor. It's not life in the bread. In the spirit, Jesus says, there is life. It's not in the body there is life, He says, but in the spirit, He says in John 6:51. So, if we just could go home with this information after this week, when we have a cold, we must change our thoughts. Yes, you can inhale anything, you can help your body to recover, but just remember, you were not kind to your wife or to your brother or to your sister. It was something that made you to get angry, and anger is not an expression of love. It is just a miracle that we live without love. Yes, this is grace. God just keeps us alive in spite of our unloving attitude or unloving actions that we have in our mind towards others. Because if we would have that love, it's not me that I promise it to you, but Jesus showed it. He never was unloving. And while He never was unloving, there was no disbalance ever in His body. He didn't need to take vitamin B12. But because, so the digestive sugar, the digestive system, the blood sugar, everything is kept in the right balance in our body by what we think. And I know this is hard for some to believe, but I can change it. It is the truth. Because you know by this law that the body cannot govern himself. There is no system that you say, okay, I put so much blood sugar, I put so much sugar and so much insulin, and let's see if that system will be balanced. It will be not. Because we are not governed by chemistry. Chemistry is always governed by the Spirit. So God must be a Spirit because He made chemistry. He governs through love everything. It is the spiritual things that only can govern the physical ones. Yes, we have an interaction. If we weaken our body to wrong food, if we weaken our body to alcohol, if we weaken, but all that we do because we are sad. If you won't be sad, if you won't be into protest, you won't put anything in your mouth that hurts and makes your body not function well. That's it. This is what we really need to learn and understand. It's the law that says what you think is what you are. And you know who said that? My attending doctor, Solomon. You see, there is, I don't know who said it, Plato or whoever, he said, man is what he eats. But this is wrong. Man is what he thinketh. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right. And this is the wisest man that lived on earth. And the way you think, you also eat. That's why thinking comes first before eating. You first take a decision to eat, and then you eat. That's why, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so, why could I see on the body of my patient what they think? At the beginning, when they came into my practice and I just discovered these things, I could say, because they come to me with their left ear, and then I looked to their ear and said, how is, there was a gentleman, yes, just recently, an older man, he got an ear infection on his left ear, and he came a few times to change the medication, to put there some cream in his, he had an ear canal infection, and then every time I asked him, how is your wife doing? And the third time he said, my wife asks, why do you ever ask me, how is my wife doing? He never answered me, but on his left ear, I knew it was something going on with his wife. And so I asked him, how is your wife doing? And he just said, the doctor asked, what are you doing? But I don't know why he asked it. So I don't do this often because people think I'm not crazy, but one that can see or can, no? Yeah, exactly. But I'm not, because the physical body says to me everything. You cannot hide anything to me. You cannot lie unto me. If I see you, I see how you look, I know you have a burdened heart. But is it hard to see that? No, that should see. Every doctor should know when he looks into the ear, he looks into the heart of man. And there was a gentleman also lately. He had a very severe left ear infection, and he's right-handed. And he comes to me, and he was several years he didn't come, but now he comes and says, it's the first time that I have such a great ear infection. And he is in his 77th, or how much? Over 70. And yes, 77. And he comes first time with his wife, and they said, well, your left ear, you must have a trouble somewhere. But you know how men are, they have no trouble. But the ear was so strong, was so painful, that he had to come back, yes. And I looked, it was as well an ear canal as a middle ear infection. It was very strong infection. He said, I have so strong pain, no painkiller helps me really. Then I said, you must have something on your heart that is really killing you. Really heavy there. Because you can go by the effect, how the cause is. And the gentleman said to me, he was alone this time, now that you always ask me, because you don't keep quiet, I tell you, I had a girlfriend, and she left me last November. He said it was a running girlfriend, I don't know how many years younger, and he said it was more than running together, but now she quit with him in November. And this is now just in March or when it comes, because he is now hurt. He cannot resist to be rejected by that lady. Of course, his wife doesn't know what he does and what he thinks, but he could now open up. And I said, you need to be independent of that girlfriend. Yes, you should know that in your heart you cannot force a person to love you. So it's so funny. You can always know what goes on in the human mind if you know the body is just an expression of the heart. And in the heart we want love. There we want something that we need. And I tell you another story, because the night is story night. And the last night. And just to see how simple it is. This gentleman is 59 years old. And he comes to me and he has a ringing in his left ear. And he got 3 weeks before, he got a zoster. How you call this? Zona zoster, yes. Now, fever blister is just a little bit that he had. He got the whole left, yes, shingles, yes. Shingles? Or? Shingles, yes. He got on his left side shingles 3 weeks before, so very much pain. He took the medication, but now the sound comes into his ear. And he comes late evening to me, and he says, "Doctor, why do I have this?" And I said, "Because you have an issue, you have a heart problem." I told him so frankly. Sometimes I'm frank. So he says, "You mean stress?" I say, "It's specific stress." Yes, it's specific stress. She said, "Yes, because I am a businessman. I work since 40 years. I work 20 hours a day. You know, that's how businessmen work." And he said, "I never got sick." I know it's not your work. Your work will never kill you. You know that? People are taken off work when they have depression or burnout. Yes, I would put them to work, they will heal. Because working heals you. Working never makes you sick because you were made to work. The more, the better. I hope you understand that. We are not made for vacation, we are made to work. I like it. I like to work, so I enjoy working. I don't know what to do in vacation. Because work, yes. So I said, "Yes, it is a specific thing that you have." And I could even say to him, because I said, "Are you right-handed?" And when you know that you have one side of your brain from your mother and one from your father, that's how we come together. And to the mother side, it's only the spouse relationship adds, and to the father, all other relationships. That was my discovery. In the first years, I saw that in every patient, and then I systemized it. And since then, I know that disease is an intention. It doesn't matter on which side it comes, but it helps to help the patient to see it. And then I said, "You must have a problem, either with your mom, but he's 60-something, so I mean 59, so mom might not be there or whatever, or with your wife." And he said to me, I said, "Don't tell me more, doctor, I die almost." Because he said, "I'm shocked, how do you know?" You know what his problem was? He was 59, and he got 4 weeks ago. You know, it takes sometimes some time until the disease comes out, but it was an acute thing. He said, "I'm a Christian. I would never betray my wife." He was raised a Catholic, very strong, because I live there in a Catholic area. And he said, "I would never betray my wife. I have a wife, we have 4 children, and I sleep every night with her hand in my hand." And yes, but about 3 years ago, he met a 10-year-old younger lady at his sport program. He goes 3 times a week to make sport. You know, when you're getting old, you have to go to sport. Because, men need that. So, with 59, you become vigor again, you know, as a man. And so he found this lady, and he even showed me her picture. He said, "Look at this." So he had her there. "Yeah, well, yes, 50-something lady, you know, not." So, and he said, so I said, "You fell in love with her?" "Well, we just had a good relationship for 3 years. But you see what happens. he said to me, if something would have happened to my wife in these last 3 years, so that she died or whatever, he said, in the next 15 minutes I would have called her to ask her if she would marry me. So, men sometimes have some reserve. They have some in storage for hard times. So he was keeping her, and his problem was that 4 weeks before, she called him and said she will get married. And so he says, this is the greatest conflict in my life, because he was thinking to divorce the right way and still take her. But what stopped him was all his businesses were on her name. So he said, I worked 40 years, now should I give all my businesses up just for a woman? So that wasn't really balanced. So he was in a conflict. He said, this is killing me. And I said, your body just shows it. So you see, outwardly, he kept the law. We spoke yesterday, or when was it? On Thursday night about the law. We can outwardly do not commit adultery. But innerly, Jesus says, who does look to a woman and lusts after her? That is, he desires her. He has committed adultery. Yes? That's an inner thing, not an outer thing. So I wanted to help this gentleman, but he didn't necessarily want me to counsel him because he thought he will fix the problem. I said, you need to come out of your dependency. Your heart betrays you. You want to live from a woman. Can a woman make you happy? Man? No. Woman, can a man make you happy? I hope so. You believe it? Because I didn't hear it enthusiastically. That, no! Yeah, we just don't believe that. We think it's possible. So let us understand, in our body, we can see the problem of the heart. And it is always the same problem. We make ourselves dependent on others and want something from them. So, the body responds to the input of the spirit's thoughts, and that makes electricity. And also the body is nourished by the spirit with what he chooses to give him in chemistry, eating, drinking, inhaling, covering, hurting, and so on. You see, the responsibility for our life lies in our spirit, not in our body, because he takes a decision for everything. And so this is very important for us to understand. So we have in our subconscious, we know that we have a body, that we have a spirit, and we have a subconscious. And in our subconsciousness, we take decisions. The decisions are yes and no. The one makes electricity, the other doesn't. Before we take decisions, that is the will, what we do. Then we have two criteria to take decisions. It's gain and loss. We have a yes for the gain and a no for the loss. I don't go into that. We need a motivation. We need to know for whom do we lose, for whom do we want to gain, and that can be only for God. We can only trust to God because He has the only one that what we need. Yes, we take in order to give. You see, in this little picture, even though it looks a little bit complex, it's very simple, I hope. You learn it. It's everything in there. Because there is this what really is important. We need to know everything starts in whom we trust, on whom we are dependent. And if you have not God as a dependency, then of course you have your wife, you have your husband, and then you will become like them. And when they are not, and this was the gentleman's saying, he says, you see, I am now almost 60 years old. I am still vigorous, but my wife got old. So now he needs a younger one. Yeah? So for whose sake does he have a wife? for his own. He doesn't have his wife for the sake to serve God. And then it doesn't matter if she's old or young. Yes, he took her, they have 4 children. Why should he want another one? A younger one, because now he keeps up, Because he was thinking lovingly? No, he was just thinking on himself. Because he wants something from a human. If he would have had God as his trust, and would his wife having here, would he have his wife in the giving and God in the taking, then everything would be fine. He would never get to the idea he needs a younger one. Because he has her only at the giving place, not in the taking place. But we, unfortunately, have the people at the taking place. So you still know the first case that I had with the headaches, and there it is. Every pattern that we get sick is because others do something that is not fitting to our needs, or they run away, or they marry, or whatever they do, and then we get disappointed, hurt, we take ourselves a prisoner, and then we do in our cortex the wrong electricity, and then we get sick. And so in the body you can see from where you take. This gentleman took from his girlfriend, from his wife, from the circumstances. But he goes to church, and he's a Christian. But did he understand what the problem is? Did he understand where the heart issue is? Not. Only on the body I could explain it to him. So we have the error in our hearts. And this error that we have in our heart, this error destroys us. It makes us to not take from God, but to take from humans. And this error says that we are a God. Yeah, you take it then. Yeah. That we are a God. And how does this error look? Let's see. My spiritual needs are satisfied by what others are doing. Do you see it better? So, are your spiritual needs satisfied by what others are doing or what others are? Yes or no? No. That's good. Are you dependent? Must the dead people that you have lived with, must they be alive again so that you feel happy? No. Because you don't need the dead people anymore. They must not be alive. You had them not at a place to take, but at a place to give. And if you have a person at a place to give, if he dies away, he's exchangeable. See, some women, especially women, do not marry after their spouse dies. Men marry in between the first 6 months or 1 year, because they cannot stay alone. And so, usually, it's very rare that men stay alone. But women can come along. But you see, there is something in women that says to them, they say, and then I ask them, because when you're a doctor, you can put any question. That's nice, And I ask them, why would you not marry? Because you're living alone, and why would you not marry? Well, doctor, I don't find another one like him. I say, so why does she say that she doesn't find another one like him? Because she gives him something or takes something? She takes something. And I said, why would you not search to make someone happy? And if God brings you some other man around to make God's work better and together to be more joyous, having, someone to whom to cook the food and so on, why wouldn't you enjoy that work? Oh, it's so discomfortable because you don't think to serve. You just think to receive. So let us see the one marry for selfishness and the other stay home for selfishness. I mean, they don't marry for the same reason. Isn't that terrible? We're just thinking on ourselves. We're just thinking what's good for me. We don't ask what God wants us to do. We don't see that when we give ourselves, then we are happy. Then we enjoy life. not when we keep things back. So you see the one Mary, and it's always the same selfishness. So, I need to be loved, respected, honored, praised. That's all that we think we need, is it? I need to be loved, I need to be respected. All these problems comes because people think they need that. Others are not allowed to do me wrong. Can others do you wrong? Amen. No? You say, let them do wrong because they don't do wrong to me. You see, when you are living in society, yes, and as a presenter, you have no choice. You are in society, and will society speak about you? Yes, and they come up with all kinds of stories that you will never even imagine that they could come up with. I got so many stories about me. You just hear them now and then, even pastors preaching it. Yes, one pastor's wife wrote me one day an email and said, I'm so sorry for you. I said, why should you be sorry for me? Well, I heard that you had a malpractice and they took your practice away and now you're bankruptcy or whatever. I said, there's nothing of that true. And then you go to another place and they say this, he beats his wife or whatever. They find out all kinds of stories. And what do you do? Then there is another one, he just writes to everyone, he says he's esoteric, he's New Age, he's Scientology. Do you answer for that? You say, Lord, that's your business. I'm not on my business. If it's your business, let them say whatever they want. I never respond to anyone that accuses me. Never ever. Let him do it. I respond to questions. But if someone accuses me, I say, Lord, your business. Handle you it. Because I don't need to go nowhere. I don't need to do anything. That's God's business. So others can do me wrong. They can speak about me the worst thing. And since I'm in this ministry, I heard worst thing about me. And of course, at the beginning, I got scared. I said, this will make that I should not work anymore for God. But then I read in His Word that Jesus says, in the Sermon on the Mount, it says, blessed are you when people what do? Persecute you and speak evil of you if they lie. And if they lie, blessed are you. Yes? It's a blessing. So why should we fight against it? Just leave it. You know, that was in one country where this one pastor was just running against my presentation. And I said, Lord, I don't need to go into that country. That's your country. If you want to go, I will work. And I worked in that country very much, in spite of every human effort to stop the work. They cannot once stop God's work. Do you think God is a child? Do you think God is powerless? Do you think someone can stop His will? Everything only depends on my own faithfulness to God. If I am faithful, there is never a danger that the message would not go forward. But if I'm not faithful, then yes, it falls apart. So everything depends on our faithfulness, not on circumstances. Circumstances don't play a role. They just help us even to become more focused, more efficient. The worse they speak about you, the better success you may have. Who knows? Can you know it? You don't know it, so let it be. Others are not allowed to do me wrong, lie, betray, beat, steal, have a wrong reputation. You know, do you need to keep your reputation? Not at all, because it's not your reputation. You don't represent yourself. And anyone can have and ruin your reputation, but what no other can do to you is to ruin your character. So if the character cannot be ruined, let reputation be wherever it is. Was Jesus ruined in His reputation? No. Did they speak worse about Him? No. Yes. Did they say he drives the devils out through Beelzebub? Did they make him a liar? Did they make him whatever they make him? Yes. So, did he care? No. Because he says, my Father is in charge of all this. I am free. They are allowed to do this to me. Others are not allowed to do me wrong. They are. I judge and condemn them when they are doing the wrong. Do we do that? You are very not you, I am very judgmental. You know that we are very judgmental. We have so many judgmental things, so many prejudices. When they are triggered, they just come out like a geyser, out of us. So, I have to control time, circumstances, money, goods, and the life of those around me. There was a young man, he was depressed, and he says, I always get angry when I make an appointment and the person doesn't show up. And I said, you're a very simple case. Because, why did you make the appointment? To take or to give? So why do you make appointments? To take or to give? Yes, if you make appointments to take, then when the other doesn't show up, who has the loss? You, and so you must be angry. And he says, I have no rest until I phone him, but he doesn't answer the phone. So I have to insist, and I have to correct him, because he does not answer the phone. And I said, well, if you would just go and make appointments in order to give, when the other does not come, who loses? The other has. So he says, poor guy, are you in any pressure to say I lost? No. You just go on your business, because you didn't lose no time of yourself. You just lost nothing, because it is God's time, and you learned a lesson to see if you are making appointments to give or to take. Wouldn't it not nice we make all appointments just to give?
Amen.
Then who would have and could take us any time away? Who could take us money away? Who could take us good away? Could they? Not at all. So the more power I have over others, the better I think my needs are fulfilled. You see, in the home, there is always a power battle. Who is stronger? And what's the result of all this attitude, of this error in our hearts? We have stress. We have anxiety. We have conflicts and war. We have all kinds of diseases. Depression, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, all kinds of inflammation. Just because we want something from others. And we would like to enforce it on them. That's our problem. So the error must be seen. But the people don't see the error. They are so convinced they are right. They're so convinced it is their right that someone should care for them, someone should do something for them. That's why I heard that some people weren't so happy with my lecture about the women doing all work and the husband just sitting in the chair. So, you see how our mind fools us? The more you work, the better it is. Let him sit, poor guy. And you do the work and you're happy. Why would you think you are disadvantaged when you work? You know why you think that? Because you play God. Because you think he must do as much as you do. But you don't know that the more you do, the more gain you have. So why bothering? He loses, not you.
He's a loser.
Yeah. And when I said that woman can do everything, man cannot do everything. Isn't that an honor for a woman? No? I'm sorry. I must change my mind. I need to become a woman. No. I tell you, I spoke with most women in my practice. And this is deception. This is pure deception if you see yourself in a disadvantage when you work more than another one. It's pure deception. And you see how it works in you. You're unsatisfied. You're discontent. If you just would say, Oh, fantastic. Now I know that I work for God. God will, yes, pay for everything. Will God leave us unpaid? Will there be no fruit for our work? Yes, Jesus says He will take us and He will see us and He will say, come, your faithful servant, enter in the joy of thy Lord. And you know, he who is working more on earth will work more in heaven. Do you know that? Because there is this parable in the Bible. You know the parable of the talents? There is the one, he gives in one parable through all his servants 1 talent, 1 money. The one makes from 1 10, the other makes from 1 5, and the other one puts it in the ground in his sweating napkin instead of working. Yes, he put the sweating napkin aside with the talent. Yes, the lazy one. And then comes his Lord after many years, and how does he treat them? The one that has 10, he says, very well, you get 10 cities to take care of. The 5 one gets 5 cities to take care of in the kingdom. And how much does the one that did nothing get? Nothing. He's going out there where the teeth and gnashing of teeth is and pain. And the talent is given to whom? To the one that has 10. And the same thing is in the other parable. If there is no multiplication, if you don't bring gain to God, there is no kingdom, because in the kingdom of heaven there are workers. See, when Jesus was once asked why he works, he says, because my Father also works. Work is the purpose why we're created. So let's work much. I want to work much here, so I have much work to do there. So I don't get bored in heaven. I have to do. And people who don't want to work, they won't stay on earth. They will stay here, because in the devil's kingdom there is laziness. There is vacation. There's just living on a boat and doing nothing. That's not in heaven. In heaven there is efficiency. There's work, because work makes the highest pleasure. Thank you for that. It was a woman. So, let's go on. Trust in created beings, dependency on humans, destroy us. But we don't see it. That's what I want to say. We don't see the error, because we don't know the law. The more you give, the higher is the multiplication. Yes, we take from God. He gave us the talent, and we put them into action. And the more you put into action, that talent grows and gets its effect, and you just are on the way to gain. But if you give in order to receive, then you put it into that other place. And then you have stress, anxiety, conflict, depression, cancer. All problems of humanity faces are around in the error in the spirit of man. So God needs to help us. He has 2 battlefields. The evil must be expelled from the universe. And since the evil is only on our earth at this time, so from the earth will be the evil destroyed. But the evil is the error in our spirit, and it must be taken off. If not, we're going to die. We're going to destroy ourselves here, and we will not have eternal life. And Christ came to make us free here and now, before He will take us into the kingdom. Because we must become free here. Our heart must become a heart that is a free heart, that loves and is not disappointed and is diligent. It doesn't measure with humans. Isn't it not smart to measure yourself with another human being? To just put yourself on the same and say, I'm doing more than him? No. You see, Paul was how was Paul? Do you like Paul? You like Paul? Was he a lazy man or a zealous man? Was he a worker? He was a worker. And he worked and worked. And he said, I am not dependent on you for money. I even make my tents while I am a minister. Because I do not want to burden anyone. I like his attitude. I like this dignity where you just say, I do it. I don't need anyone to help me. Did he go around to beg? No. He went on and he worked and he worked and he saw the work as an honor. Yes, and I hope we will see it as well. Because he says, you know what he says about his ministry? He says, I worked. Let's read it. I like 1 Corinthians 15. It's one of the nicest chapters you have in the Bible. Also 13 will come later. But 1 Corinthians 15 has the whole gospel. The whole message of the salvation of man is in 1 Corinthians 15. And here verse 10. It says, for I am the least of the apostles, that I am not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace bestowed upon me was not in vain. For what was the grace bestowed upon him? But I labored more abundantly than they. Who are they all? It were the other disciples, the other apostles. Yet not I, but the grace of God which is with me. Tell me, does grace make you diligent or does it make you lazy?
Diligent.
Grace makes you a hard worker for God. Because grace gives you the power and you work more than others. And he didn't say, oh, grace was in vain with me because I work less than others. No, grace was not in vain with me. He gave me and I labored more abundantly than they. So are you now satisfied? Are you happy to labor more than others? I am. So Jesus is our example that we have to labor more. So let's go. Last night we saw that we need to be changed. Christ came to change us inside himself. He went to the cross. In his first coming, he crucified our selfish nature, and in the second coming, he will come and give the result to those who have been changed by his life, and he will renew the earth at the end, and the other will be destroyed. So in Christ, there was a battle in his heart. We know it was a battle of faith. And I don't go into this because I shared this last night, very plain, and I just repeat it so that we have it in our mind. Christ came to do a battle in himself. And after he conquered the battle, he gives it to us as an inheritance by faith. What does he give us as an inheritance? His victory, and his victory is the faith that is and must become our faith. Is it our faith that saves us, or is it his faith that saves us? Let's read it in Galatians 2:16. There's a fantastic verse, and it is rightly translated in the King James Version. It says so. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ, even we have believed in Jesus Christ, that we might be justified by the faith of Jesus Christ, and not by the works of the law, for by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. So why do you believe in Jesus? Because you need his faith. It must become your faith. If it doesn't become your faith, then nothing will change in your life. And in Hebrews chapter 12, wherefore seeing we also are encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. What were all these cloud of witnesses in Hebrew 11? Who were it? What were they? Why were they a cloud of witnesses? They were people of faith. And it says, if we have so great encompassed about us a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us. So this is singular sin. And what is sin that so easily beset us? Trusting in humans instead of man, or human instead of God, which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Is this work in grace or is no work in grace?
Working grace.
There is work in grace. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of
Our faith.
our faith. So Jesus had in himself as a human create this faith, bring up this faith, so that by faith we can take this faith, that it should become our faith. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. So why does Paul exhort us and says, here you must have faith? Because ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. That means you have not yet resisted unto blood, putting your trust totally on Jesus. That's it, what it has to be. This trust in God, this faith of Jesus must be our faith. And he didn't shun his reputation. He says here, for consider him that endureth such a contradiction of sinners against him. Would you, if you would be the Son of God that comes from heaven and there you spit in your face, how would you react? Or just imagine Judas. Would you allow Judas to kiss you when you know that he wants to betray you with that kiss? Jesus knew it, yes? And Judas comes like a friend and says, him who I kiss, he is it. Because it was dark, they had to catch him. And so he comes and kisses Jesus. Would you have allowed your precious face to be touched by such an unclean person? Or would you have pushed him away? Would you let people to kiss you if you would know they just kiss you because they want to betray you? Would you not? If you're sincere, you know we won't do that. Because you would, but if Jesus would have rejected Judas, he would have sinned. Because he would have taken from Judas. So Jesus says to Judas, friend, are you coming to betray your master with a kiss? That's our Lord. In whom did he put his trust? Can Judas do anything to Jesus? Can he or can he not? No. When he was before Pilate, Jesus says, you would have how much power over me? No power if it would have not given unto you.
That's right.
So we must understand that it is important for us to consider Jesus endured such a contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint. In what? In your food or in your minds? In the minds we can only faint. Because there is the battle. There we must take the error away and faith must take its place. Christ must be our example. He must be that what Paul says, and he had it right. He said, I give how much for Jesus? He said, I consider everything a loss. You know, he knew the loss and gain equation. And he said, I consider it a what? A gain. Now let's read it. Philippians 3, because sometimes my English. Philippians 3, somewhere here. Yeah, here. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ. Do you see the gain and loss equation? Yes, doubtless, I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Christ, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God by faith, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death, if by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead. And he's in a battle. He says, I haven't attained it yet. But can you identify with these words?
Yeah.
That you can say, I am not fighting for me. I want that righteousness that is through faith, through the faith of Christ. And I consider through that all things but loss, that I may gain Christ. So, you see, I could follow on with this forever. So, the purification of my heart, you still remember? I was crucified together with Christ. Have you been crucified together with Christ? We know Jesus lived an earthly life, and he crucified selfish nature, and he was resurrected as a new creature. I explained this last night. Now he works as a high priest to cleanse my heart and your heart. And when he has finished that work, he comes back as a king and as a judge. And I was born also here on earth, and I had only one sinful nature because I had two parents that were having the same nature. I didn't have, like Jesus, a father from heaven and a mother from earth. So I had only one nature. But at the cross, there was an exchange. I received on the 7th June 2003 his nature. So that nature that he inherited from his father now becomes my nature. He covers all my past life. I am totally forgiven. God doesn't look to my life. He looks to Jesus' life and says, I don't see any sin in Horst's life. Isn't that a great thing? Imagine, you're free. And everything that was done unto you is on him. And everything that you have done wrong to others is on him. You are just cleansed like you would have never done any wrong in your life. Isn't that grace? So, but there is a battle after the cross. Because after the cross, this new nature, you see, Jesus said a parable. And when you once know how the heart works, you will see that all parables speak about the heart. And he says that parable with the sourdough. Yes, when you put some sourdough, and what happens overnight? It spreads, and how much is taken in that? Oh, because this new nature that we are born with on the day when we receive it from Christ, we make the exchange of life, must grow in us. This is the battle. This is the run of faith, because it grows by faith. It grows by implementing faith in every step. I have to kill the error, and then it will grow as I kill the error until one day my whole nature is changed into his nature, that as he was here at the end of my life, I will be like he was there. And then I will go in that time of trouble to the same experience similar to him, but I won't need to die on the cross. It just will prove to that distress that everything evil is out of my life. So, and when he comes as a king, he comes to change me. We will read chapter 15 from 1 Corinthians. In a twinkling of an eye, we will be transformed. And those who see Jesus coming in the clouds of heaven, that they didn't die, they will never die. They don't need to go through death. They were just in a twinkling of an eye transformed. Isn't that a privilege?
Amen.
That's our generation, that we can become that. And it is worth fighting for it, because it is a high calling. And then we will change to a new creature. We will be having the same creature that Jesus has here, that we will have there. And so everything is fine. Heaven is restored to men. Then we know that I have a trust in God. I'm a creature of God. And as a creature of God, my spiritual needs are satisfied by what I do. I don't need my beloved dead to live or relatives. I'm not in need of being loved, respected, honored, praised, and so on. Others are allowed to do me wrong, lie, betray, beat, steal, etc. I do not judge and condemn them when they are doing the wrong, because they don't do it unto me. I cannot control what I do not own. Time, money, people, animals, they are not mine. I cannot control them. I do not need power over others, because I am not responsible to do anything over them. So what will happen with the stress if I'm a creature? It will disappear. What will happen with anxiety? It will disappear. What will happen with conflicts in the family or with the wars between people? They will disappear. In heaven there will be not, and it must be peace already between us on earth. All kinds of diseases will disappear. Depression, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, inflammation. It's all going to be gone, because these people know who they are. Their trust is in God and God alone. And that's why they are free from the results of a deceptive nature. So last night I didn't cover the idea of forgiveness. I will just go shortly to forgiveness, and then I come to the lecture from this night. So, what is forgiveness? I tell you, the usual understanding of forgiveness is this: I am God, you hurt me, and now this is the one that did you wrong, and you graciously forgive them because they did to you wrong. This is how we understand forgiveness, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how so we forgive. And if you go to some forgiveness seminar, the emphasis is very selfish, if you look to it, because they say, forgive that it might be well for you. That's selfishness.
Yeah.
You just do it for yourself. You should forgive out of love. And that's why I like that parable in that book, The Christ Objects Lesson, where it says about forgiveness, where the author said, it is not that we forgive that we are forgiven, but it is that how we forgive, how as we forgive. That's what matters. You can forgive. And I saw this in my patients. They do forgiveness seminar for 10 years and the depression doesn't go away, because they're still the victims of others. So if you know that you are a creature of God, then what do you understand? You did me wrong and I graciously forgive you. Isn't that great? Prideful? No. When people come to me and say, I forgave my parents, it hurts me. I say, how did they hurt you? How can you, a child, think that you have to forgive your parents? Who are you? You see, Jesus says, forgive us as we forgive our debtors. There's a condition there. If you cannot forgive your debtors, you are not forgiven. And that's the parable that is written there in Matthew 18 about forgiveness. We must understand forgiveness is clear. I'm a creature of God. Who did you hurt while you did wrong to me?
God.
You hurted God, and so you did wrong to God while doing wrong on me. I will ask God to have mercy with you and forgive you as He had with me. That's forgiveness. That's the right definition of forgiveness. And Jesus lived that definition, did He? He knew when He was put on the cross, He didn't say, Father, I forgive them. No, He said, Father, it's your duty to forgive them because they do you wrong, not me. And I pray for them. That's love. Is there any bitterness in it? Because we might say, Father, forgive them, because there is no bitterness. There is just freedom. He knows and He loves the other. We only can forgive a person if we love him. If you don't love the person, you can never forgive. Because you must understand, they did wrong to God, not to you. David was the one that killed Uriah. And he says in Psalm 51, against you alone I have sinned. Could he make it right with Uriah anymore?
No.
No. But did he do wrong to Uriah?
To God.
No. He did wrong to God. He did it in a very terrible way, did he? Should he not be punished for that? I mean, how terrible was he? You know, you're smart and you use your smartness for your advantage. Yes, you take his wife, then she's pregnant, and then you say, oh, I have to cover my sin. So take him out of the war. He had to be in the war as well. So he brings the man back from the war, but the Spirit of God says to this simple man, says, how can you go to sleep with your wife when all your comrades are fighting? So he said, I'm going to be abstinent. I'm not going home to sleep with my wife. I'm just living here at the door of the king. And so the king couldn't push him to go to his wife to sleep with her, so that he should think that child that will be born comes from him. So he wants to, and then he writes a letter, and he gives to Uriah the letter in which he wrote his death sentence. He says, give this letter to my general. And in that letter was written, put Uriah in the front lines, and when he is in the battle, his friends should go back so that he falls. That's killing. A nice way or a bad way?
Bad way.
A very bad way. Because he did not even get, did he get dirty? No. It was in the war that he fell. And so he could take the wife and have a child with her. God had to let that child die to make clear that there is a consequence when we do wrong. But did he forgive? Did he forgive David?
Yeah.
Yes. But he had to pay 4 times for what he did. Because he said he has to pay 4 times. And 4 sons died for that reason. That's consequence. But he was forgiven. But he said, against you alone I have sinned. So let us do forgiveness the right way. When God forgives us, He says to us, you did no damage against me anymore, because that's now on Christ, yes? And you owe me no debt anymore. Now when we forgive, a creature of God forgives, it must say the same thing. This lady that I told you last night, or the night before, or it was last night, that her father as a pastor has abused her sexually in her childhood, between 8 or 9 years, and now she is 60 years old, or what has she to do? What does she say to her father to be free? She must go to say to her father, Father, you did no damage, sin against me anymore. I was wrong. You owe me no debt anymore. Will she then be healed? Yes. Can she do that from herself? For that, her selfish nature must die. The idea that she is God must die, because only a God, you can sin only against a God, and only a God can give forgiveness. So, only a God can give forgiveness. That's why we must forgive like God forgives. If He says, you don't owe me anymore anything, so you go to the other one and says, in His taking away all my sins, are your sins also included that you did to me? So why should I tell you, you have to pay me something back? Because that what I owed Christ, you owe me, but He took all that away, so you're free as well with me. That's forgiving. You say to those who did you wrong, you owe me nothing. You did do no damage to me. There was one man who needed never to forgive, because he was always in the law of life. He knew he needed never to forgive anything that was done to him. No one could do him damage. He had no possessions. Never took anything personally. He knew, I am a creature of God. All that is done unto me is done unto my Father. So that's forgiveness. When we once have sorted out that we are just creatures, can anyone do any sin against us anymore? No. We are free. Imagine. That's why Peter comes to him and says, how often should I forgive? And Jesus says, you have not understood nothing, Peter. 7 times? And just Jesus says 70 points, 70 times. That is 490 times a day. The same thing. You know? Can you do that? That's why we say, okay, I forgive you once, I forgive you twice, but what do you do then? No, we always need to forgive. But when we once set it there, then no one can harm you anymore, because you say, poor people, they hurt God, they don't hurt me. And so forgiveness is out of your life. You can pray with a full heart, I forgive me my sin as I have forgiven my neighbor's sin. So, now we come to the definition of love. I shared it this afternoon, but I will share it once again. Love is that what I saw we need to give to our spirit, to our body. So when we love with this kind of love, our body has exactly what he needs. And that is, we must give maximum interest for the other person. And human love has interest in the other person, but human love needs to rule, dominate, to force. Human love cannot let someone do you wrong. Human love does not let the child do the wrong. Human love does not allow the other to betray you. Human love cannot allow that others should beat your children, whatever it is. Human love cannot accept the evil. That's why it fights against it. But divine love gives 100% liberty for the others and 100% respect for the others. Divine love knows no force for the good. Human love, when it tries to give liberty, it will become indifference. But you cannot be indifferent to a father that abused you. Can you? Can you? Say just, I'm indifferent, I give him liberty. You cannot. That's why you will die on your own incapacity to give liberty to that. 90% of all of our diseases, all that comes from the mind, they come because you force the good. You do not allow others to do you wrong. Love can endure everything. Selfishness, not. So, I have my atheist friends in my practice, or atheist patients, and how can I prove to them that love is nothing that you can generate? Can you generate this love? Where will you fail? In the interest or in the liberty? Where will you fail? You will always fail. When others do you wrong, you cannot let them do you wrong freely because you're not capable. So, that's why is God the only one that can be this love? Why can only God be the source of this love? Why can only He produce it? What's the condition that only He is the only one that has this love?
He has no need.
Because He is independent. So from everyone you're dependent, you cannot give this love. Yeah? So that's why if I take this love from God, I take it from God, somehow that's, okay. I take this love from God and I give it to my wife first, then to my father, mother, children, and to the cat. Or the dog. Yes, we have the pets, yeah? You need to give them. I heard the dog is going tonight away. and I cannot go with him tomorrow morning, my last run in the nature. So that hurt me already. Because you love the pets, do you? We have to give them God's love. And do they take it? Yes, they like it. So, we take from God. Tell me, am I then dependent on my wife if I take 100% liberty and 100% interest in my wife? Am I dependent on my wife or not? No. Because you see, being dependent on God means that I can give that kind of love that God is, because I am not dependent on this, whatever they do. So that's why everyone who takes God's love, he just gives that what God is. 100% interest, 100% liberty and respect. Because you cannot give except that what you take. So only God is the source of love because He's independent. Now, if we are just dependent on God, we will be independent from all around us. That's how the equation works. On spiritual level, we must be totally independent because we must give a love that is 100% liberty. But if I am dependent on my wife, how much liberty can I give it to her? How much? No, whenever there is a conflict, immediately I have to go against that because I am dependent on her. So love is the only solution to make us free. You see, people comment in psychology, you have that idea, you have to separate, you have to put borders, you have to save yourself from how? To anyone you put borders, you put it to yourself. Love doesn't know that. Love gives everyone how much liberty? 100% liberty. But of course, there's a consequence. If you don't use that love, then you'll die. Like it's a consequence we don't drink water. This love we were made for, and not for something else. And this love we must exercise to be free people. So whenever you have a conflict, what do I suggest to people? Separate? No, go and love them. Then you're free. The more you love a person, the better it is. You have an enemy, you love him, he's no enemy anymore. You have someone that did you wrong, you love him, nothing wrong anymore. Because you give liberty. It's not by separation that you become independent. Because if you separate from your father, you are not independent of him. You're still suffering in your dependency of him. Love is the only antidote for everything we suffer. Everything. Why would you not love? Why would you stop that? And that I said to that woman that I shared, I said, take this is the love of God and just give it to your father who abused you, and you will be free. Because this love gives liberty to the father to do you wrong, because he didn't do you wrong to you. This love is everything to us. I like love. And you know why I like God? Because He is this love. Will heaven be nice to be with such a person? Yes or no? Fantastic. Imagine that He brings us into a place where there is maximum interest, there is maximum work, and maximum liberty. Because He will never put anything on you. Because if you use this love, how much will He need to control heaven? Does He need to control heaven if anyone uses this love? Is there any need to control heaven? No, because if anyone works by this love, everyone gives 100% liberty, how much conflict can ever happen? Because all conflicts come because we cannot give liberty. So I have a goal in my life. And this is how I end always my presentations. It's time to end. I have a goal in my life. And this goal in my life is I want to become the most loving person God has on earth. I want him one day to call his angels together and say, let's look down on earth, let's see how is Horst doing. And he should say to his angels, do you see him? There is none like him that loves like me. Wouldn't that be the greatest honor that a human can have? When God could look down and say, this is the man that has my love. And he is it. And of course, I do not do this seminar to stay alone. Understand?
Yeah.
I don't do this seminar to be the only one that he looks down and says, he's the only one. But of course, I want to be first. So don't. Is anything wrong to be first in love? Anything wrong? To get into competition, to just say, I want to love you more than you do me. Would that ever hurt us?
No.
Will we ever have a competition that is wrong? No. That's why I have a business card that is in printing. It's not yet ready. But it will be printed on human heart. It will be printed in my heart, and it will be seen in my life. So this is 1 Corinthians 13. And I just read the 3 verses because it's so nice. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love or charity, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. You see, there are only good things that he enumerates here. There's nothing negative. He doesn't compare love with something negative. He just says there are good things that you can do out of your selfish nature. But there is one thing that you cannot do out of your selfish nature, and that is love. You can speak like angels out of selfishness. You can have the gift of prophecy. You can understand all mysteries. You might have all knowledge, and you might even have a faith to move the mountains and do miracles. But you can do that all out of selfishness. Because people will come, and that day, Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, and they say, did we not do great miracles? And he says, I never knew you. Who are you? So, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have no love, it profiteth me nothing. You know there is only one sign that you're a Christian? What is that sign? Jesus says, when the world will see that you have love for one another, then they will see that I am the Savior of the world. So, you know, some people ask me sometimes, which is the right church? You know which is the right church? Who is this? Those who love one another.
Amen.
If there is no disputes anymore, then you're the right church. If there's no fighting anymore for supremacy or for having right, then you're in the right church.
Amen.
You're in the right community. Because the only thing that gives us an authority or gives us an identification that we're children of God is the love of God.
Amen.
Jesus says, as I have loved you, you should love one another. I gave you an example. And this is the center of all things. If we do not take from God, we could never become loving. Because it is only His love that makes us loving. It's only His love that proves all tests. And let us see how it looks when we will be put into the test. And I share this, and instead of love, I put my name. You see, it sounds better. Yes? Imagine. Horst suffereth long. Does that sound good? Horst is kind. To whom is he kind, and with whom does he suffer long? Don't say anyone. To whom is Horst long-suffering and kind? To the good or to the evil? Don't say all. Because you don't need to be kind and long-suffering to the good. God in heaven does never need long-suffering for his angels or for the other worlds. He only needs long-suffering for whom? For you and I. You and me. We only need long-suffering for people who do the wrong. Not for people who do the right. So, let's read it. Horst suffers long with people who do to him mistakes. So whenever his wife does something wrong, he has no problem. He remains kind, does it? And when the children do, and when the patients are not there, or others speak wrong about you, you just become, or you say, friend. Is that nice? Horst envious not. Horst vaunteth not itself, so he does not put himself. He's not puffed up. Is that easy to not be puffed up? I tell you, we are also so easy to be puffed up. Our pride comes just in a second up in our hearts. Horst does not behave itself unseemly. Horst seeketh not his own, is not easily provoked or at all provoked. He thinketh no evil. In German, that translation is, he does not remember the evil that others have done. He rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. You see, this love has a thinking process. It knows what is right and knows what is wrong. Horst beareth all things. Horst believeth all things. Horst hopeth all things. Horst endureth all things. And the best comes, Horst never faileth. That is, Horst never ends his life, because love will give you eternity. As God is eternal, love is that means that gives us eternal life. We can only live by this love, and we only can have this love while we were connected to Him. That's why the law shows us where to connect on. But the law has not the love in it. The love is in God. So there is no love without the law. That's why we need the law to know where to take love from. And then love just proves that we have the law of God, that we keep the commandment, because we take from God only. So when I once finished my lecture, a young man came to me and says, I go home and I will put on my wall in my bedroom this Bible text, and wherever it is written, love, I will put your name. And I said, you didn't understand it well. But he brought a good idea in me. So I want to ask you, would you like to put this somewhere in your room, whenever you can look to it, to just put your name there and say, I want to be, your name suffers long, is kind. Would you put that on the wall? Not for your wife. I would know that you would like to put it for your wife and say, look to that. When she doesn't do it, no, that's not the right way. It's just for you to just look to it and have a mirror. Now, I haven't done this because I speak of this every weekend. So I'm remembering myself to have this, this identity card. Because this is the only identity card that proves that we are Christians. That proves that we are the children of God. No matter what we really confess. Because only love will prove that our confession is correct.
Amen.
If we have no love, everything else does not count. So, how many of you would like to put this somewhere, because you don't repeat it every weekend, and want that to be their own identity card? And then, of course, I want this other question to ask you. Who wants to be also first with me on the first place? To love, that no one should love like you.
Amen.
I tell you, Sandpoint will change. This church will get another face if everyone would put that into practice and would get into that competition to want to become first in loving the others. Not keep that back, but searching God, and one day have this image in every situation that God has given us. Is there a better future for us as this? Can there be anything more nice than to be a loving person? Can there be any other desire in this world? Can every other desire fulfill this place? Can it or can it not? There is no one that can fulfill that. Love is that which I am in love with. And I am not there yet, but by God's grace, I believe and hope that I will be there. So, I have the last slide, I almost forgot it. The definition of love, a motivation for every act. So if we have this love, will we have joy in our life? If we have this love, we will have peace in our life. If we have this love, we will have long-suffering and patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, purity, or self-control. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. And our spirit needs to have these fruits out. And they only prove that we are in the right law, that we are keeping the law. Because love is the proof that we are keeping the law, that we are connected to Jesus. That's how love and law is connected to each other inseparably. Without law, there is no love. And without being connected to God, that's the law, you can never exercise love. So let us love one another and finish the work that God has given us. Amen. So maybe because we made a commitment to become the most loving people, I thought that we might, before we do the music, to have a prayer of dedication for every one of us that wants to become first. So let us pray. Father in heaven, I'm so thankful for this week that you have given us here. I'm so thankful for the people that I met, for the privilege that I had to share your message. Father, you have seen that we are not yet there. Our heart is still filled with a wrong identity, so that we have still things in us that can provoke us and shows that we are bound to the wrong place. But now that we have heard that there is a way out, we want to persist in this faith, in this battle, in this race that you have called us to go. And we want one day that the whole heaven should look down to us and see us and recognize us as your children, having and bearing a character that is similar to our Lord's character, having shown to the world and to the universe that out of a sinful person you could do a loving one. Out of a broken person you could restore him completely to a loving and exercising love to everyone. So help us to reach the goal. Help us to be faithful no matter what we encounter. Help us to not give up, but every time look on the beginner and the finisher of our faith, who took every sacrifice just to bring us one day into his kingdom. And we will do like him, being encouraged through him, being empowered to him. We will finish the race and say together with Paul, we have fight the good fight battle, and we have reached the goal. Amen.